Russian small arms have always been a breed to their own, full of quirks and strange design cues. Well, that's how they get such a large fan following. Now, if I had to give a modern example, more traditional NATO-style firearms would be like Pokemon. Easy on the eyes, kind of family-friendly, you know, more mainstream design. Whereas Russian small arms would be like Digimon. Kinda, you know, doing their own thing. Hey, Ivan, I think he is making fun of us again. With that said, the PP-2K that we have here from Modify, well, they're certainly unique looking. Kind of a curvy boy. Oh yeah, the Russians gotta like their curves. So, how does this thing stack up to maybe an MP7? Now, the PP-2K is a compact submachine gun coming from Russia. Now, some of its most notable users actually the Russian police force, and they use it in conjunction with the PP-19. Now, I've done a review of that before, so you can check it out later. Ergonomically, the gun feels great, with a high cut right here underneath the trigger guard, and a cut right here for your hand to fit in real snug. And it also features that same kind of cutout right here for your support hand. And it feels good. You can even put your thumb in here and have enough space for you to pull the trigger if need be. Now, magazine release is here, and it feels just like any other pistol. Control for the fire selector is here, safe, auto, semi. Very easy to reach, unlike some other Russian arms out there that, you know, it's a little hard to depress sometimes and you may not be used to it, but this feels very familiar. So, good stuff. The gun is actually dual system as well, so you can use green gas or a compatible CO2 magazine. With that said, now let's talk about some of the operation. The charging handle is reciprocating, so when you shoot, this thing comes back. You can also charge it on either side with the nub. This is all fine and good. However, if you want to operate it and it's not loaded, you first need to eject the magazine, take this off of safe, so I'm going to put on semi, then you can charge it. If not, there's a built-in mechanism in there that will knock into your follower, not allowing you to do what I just did. Now, you see, I can pull the trigger, and it'll fire. However, I can pull this back, I can't shoot because of the follower. So if you want to do your dry firing, eject the magazine, you hear that? The bolt went back forward because the follower was preventing that from happening. So just keep that in mind if you want to do some dry firing. Earlier I talked about strange quirks on Russian firearms, and the PP-2K, no exception. Always so multifunctional, these Russians, always thinking ahead. You can actually remove this stock. You see this little button over here? Looks like a magazine release. You can pull that stock out, and to be honest, it looks quite nice in this kind of pistol thing format, and I'm gonna shoot it like this later for you guys. But what's very interesting is you can take the long mag, now this is the CO2 magazine, and you can plug it into the back as such, and you can use your magazine as a stock. Now, I don't know how viable this is gonna be, especially with it being a little on the wobbly side, but it's there if you need it. Also, this is featured on the real steel one as well. So, gotta hand it to Sergey over there for being very progressive in their thinking. You may have remembered that I mentioned something along the lines of how does she stack up against an MP7? Well, I have an MP7 right here. Now, this MP7 is pretty decked out, but from the onset, you can kind of see how they compare to each other. If you look closely, ergonomically, they look very similar. The MP7 also has this kind of arched grip here, and same thing with the PP. It has a foregrip, same thing with the PP. It has this cutout right here. Well, not as deep, but also here. One thing I do like about the PP-2K is the fact that it feels very comfortable for you to hold your support hand like this. Whereas the MP7, even if I took off the flashlight here, it just, I don't feel the same kind of comfort. However, with the PP-2K, I can't really put my thumb very high up on this thing, or at all. If not, I'm gonna stop the, the bolt from reciprocating. You don't have that issue here. So overall, I think there are some similarities between the PP-2K and the MP7. At the end of the day, which one is going to feel better? It's going to ultimately come down to your own preferences. However, just by holding them, they do feel remarkably similar, even like to the weight. And this is essentially a tactical Christmas tree, and they still feel about as heavy. I'm using 0.2 gram BBs and green gas. So here we are back in the warehouse, and we're about to shoot the PP at the target. I got the short mag with me, and I'm going to shoot it in a few ways and let you guys know exactly how it feels. First, I'm going to extend the stock and shoot it normally. Then I'll remove the stock and put the long magazine in there, let you guys know how that feels. And finally, I'll shoot it without the stock as promised. To deploy the stock, you simply pull it back as such. If you want to collapse it, see this notch? Pull up past the notch and you collapse it like that. Semi-auto. It's loud. It's fun to shoot, but the blowback is not super hard. And how they have this wire stock kind of angled, you can really get a good cheek on it. Not bad, not bad. Let's try the different one. Long magazine. All right. Back on semi. All right. There's not too much to talk about here. The stock is far superior. Simply because the plate here is angled weird and it doesn't shoulder nicely. And it just doesn't have the same angle as a stock. So for you to get really high up on this thing, the bottom of the magazine digs into the top of your shoulder. It could be a me problem, but it's very uncomfortable. I mean, just look at this. Look at this. It just like look at how that just doesn't feel good. Doesn't feel good at all. Finally, we're gonna shoot it without anything. And as an added bonus, why not? Full auto. I really like this. Bolt locks back. I have to say, this is probably the best mode to shoot this gun in. And the best configuration. I love it. I love this thing. I want to do one more time, but I want to shoot it from the hip as if I'm holding a shield. Because that's what I would expect our buddies in Russia would do. There it is. That's so much fun. Alright, it's an SMG. The grouping, I like it. I mean, how far were we? About 10 meters or so, give or take? And in that ideal engagement distance, you're going to hit everything. Everything. You're not going to take this thing out, and you're not going to snipe with it. Let's just keep it real. For what it's designed to do, I think it does a pretty good job. One thing I do have to say though, the trigger, just a little on the squishy side. You don't feel a whole lot from it. So it's not like you can time your shots really well. I mean, there is a little bit of feedback, but it's also just a little on the spongy side. So just make sure you factor that in there. But as their first foray into gas blowback, Modified did a fantastic job. That was royally interesting. Now, before we finish off this review, why don't you check out two reviews that I've done before, the MP7 AEG and the PP-19. As their first foray into the gas blowback market, I think Modified did a fantastic job with producing this PP-2K. I mean, the build quality is great, it's a solid gun, it shoots great, and oh my goodness, it sounds fantastic. But on the other hand, are there a few things I may not like about this gun? Well, to start, I'm not too big of a fan of Russian ergonomics and how the controls feel, and I've never been shy about that. I'm a through and through NATO AR kind of guy. But on the same side of the same coin, everything on this gun feels great. The ergonomics are really comfortable. It's very shootable, although it may need a little bit more work on the trigger moving forward. Overall, it's a pretty good thing. One thing I really honestly not a fan of, and again, it could be a me thing, the stock. This stock, fantastic. The long magazine as a stock, just too much wobble. The butt pad eats into your shoulder, and that doesn't feel very good. And other than that, you know, it's a good gun, it really is. So from what I can see, I could definitely say with a lot of confidence that the PP-2K can indeed give the MP7 a run for its money, especially if y'all into Digimon over Pokemon. I mean, you know, Russian style stuff over NATO style stuff. And, you know, we want more diversity of product. We want more new guns to play with. And this is a win for everybody. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you want this cool product and many more, don't forget to check out our online store at www.redwolfairsoft.com. My name is Mark, aka Blue Steel. If you like this video, don't forget to give us a like. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell if you want to be notified every time we upload a new review. Guys, see you next time. Hey, don't you find it kind of ironic that I'm wearing this t-shirt while I'm reviewing this? It just happened that way. I swear it wasn't planned.